Welcome back to the Chattanooga Film Festival. I'm Dustin, and I'm so happy to be talking to Maya Rudich and Ori Yakobovich, co-directors with the great Nabwana IGG on their new film, Operation WAKALIGA, Fate and Blood. Maya, Ori, thank you so much for joining us at the Chattanooga Film Festival this year.
Thank you, Dustin, for having us.
Thank you.
First off, I just want to know, how did you come to work with Isaac Nabwana and the whole Wakaliwood team?
We've been big Wakaliwood fans for a long time. And a few years ago, during COVID, I was a programmer in an independent cinema in Tel Aviv, and I wanted to screen Isaac's movies. And while trying to contact him and to get the movie screen, we became friendly, and I discovered what an amazing person he is. And he did like a Zoom Q&A with the local audience. And then Maya and I came up with the idea of, let's collaborate. It was such fun, like doing all the organization to the screening. And we called him and offered him to do a movie that'll be like a sequel to The Raid on Entebbe Airport. And he loved it. And he invited us to come and said, you can sleep at my house if you want. And we bought a plane ticket for 2 months to East Africa.
And that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? Had you ever been to Uganda before?
No, we've never been there before, and we absolutely fell in love with the country. We've been back there again to screen the film, and we actually have a documentary about the Ugandan premiere of the movie as well that we're working on at the moment. And that experience was, I think, nothing like ever. Like nothing we did before.
Yeah, we are ready to immigrate there, like right now. Like we would move our entire life there.
like yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, and we really him, Isaac, and Harriet really let us in, the family and everyone, and Jaja, there are a lot of people around because it's a community, and there are many children, adopted children, friends, people who work in the studio, which are more than just a studio. It's a whole really community, and we really became a part of that, and it was really, really inspiring for us.
That's great. Yeah, and it as far as inspirations go, Wakaliwood proudly wears its 80s action movie influences right on its sleeve. But I'm curious what kind of movies inspired you in your part of the making of Fate and Blood.
So to begin with, the movies that Wakaliwood is inspired of is by coincidence, it's canon movies, right? Like action canon movies, which are Israeli products, right? Menachem Golan, Yoram Globus.
That's right.
So we grew up as culture here on similar movies or what Wakaliwood grew up on, right? Was popular here.
We also have a lot of American culture influence. We also grow up, at least in the 90s and beginning of the 2000s, we also grew up thinking that we are America. And I mean, in the film world wise, like that's what we have prom here now and all kinds of things that have absolutely no connection to this place besides.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
yeah. Besides the cultural influence that we grow up on. I think now it's changed, but until maybe it hasn't, but Israeli films are in the foreign film category in the streamings here locally, whereas American films are like the films are the default.
That's wild.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, it's just, the American culture is just so dominant.
Sure, of course.
On top of that, also, like,
I'm so sorry. We're so overbearing.
It's okay.
Everywhere we are.
It's okay.
It's just what got us to have a really, really common ground with the Wakaliwood.
It's not your fault that you have kick-ass action movies. It's not your fault.
Well, I guess that's where we put our resources instead of healthcare.
And we also inspired, the Menachem Golan and all the canon movies. There were Menachem Golan before canon, after canon. They made a lot of Israeli action movies about like Israel heroism, kind of about specifically the raid on the Entebbe airport as well. And like when we got into the thing, like the shared history of Israel and Uganda and the raid of Entebbe airport, we kind of wanted to like burst that bubble of that entire like pathos with the operation. So with a lot of references came from the movies about that specific event.
Yeah. I did want to talk just a little bit about that. I think, you know, your film, obviously with Entebbe and you know, the plot of the film, it does speak somewhat to the historical relationship between Uganda and Israel. And I think the movie actually wisely and rather deftly avoids like sticky political issues in favor of like just a really fun and goofy action movie. But can you talk to me about your personal approaches to this film politically and any kind of messages that you want or don't want an audience to take away from this?
So, first of all, it's very important for us to say that we have we met on Zoom with Isaac and Harriet. We wrote it from the two countries. We went back and forth with a script. We thought about it. We produced it. We filmed it, and we edited it all before the huge disaster that is going on for the last almost 2 years. It's important to us that we have completed most of besides logistics, everything prior to that. So that was our mindset, right? So anything that has to do with today is not intentional because it wasn't made in the same time, right?
Yep.
So that's a very important starting point for us with this. Secondly, I think Ori and I, we share a very, I think, aware and kind of cynical and critical view of our local politics. We look at the way we grew up in this, heroism bubble, as Ori described it, and we kind of feel that it's ridiculous, and we wanted to make a parody of this, and it's also influenced from American, iconic characters, but it's this, this general that is, can do anything, and this angry, violent message that eventually gets you to a repetitive point. I think we both share that view, and we both wanted to approach that with a lot of humor, awareness, but also compassion.
Right.
And we don't want to, we never want to hurt no one's feelings.
Of course, no. And I think
on anyone's buttons that, activate that. So that was never, this is entertainment.
Yes.
This is what we made. This is also what
I think it succeeds at that. I mean, and there are many great American films that also, poke at that jingoistic, American hero concept. And it's just interesting to hear about the, that crossover with the American, the canon films and the influence that American films had on the canon films, and then the influence that the canon films had on you guys and Wakaliwood. And it's like this endless, like sort of daisy chain of influences that really at its core are about almost like making parody of this sort of jingoism. And I think that your movie sells that very well, I think.
I think with the
just one more point to that is that we made the most,
like farcical, like the most farcical
scenario we could think of. And the fact that it resembles today's reality says much more about reality than about our message in that case.
Truth is truly stranger than fiction.
Like with the screenings, I think a lot with the screenings for Israeli audiences, like what they took out of it, because it's been screening for a little bit here, is like how to take like a lot of tropes in the society and put it so much out of context. It's like it maybe helps to look with a more critical lens about stuff that people take for granted in such a militaristic environment and media. I think maybe like even if we didn't have a specific message, that's the outcome. And we know from Isaac's side that the movie, when we try to, like, we wrote everything together, and when we talked about, like, we wanted to do like a recreation of the raid on Entebbe airport, but obviously we didn't have budget to have hundreds of hostages,
Sure.
So I said, we'll have one hostage, we can afford something like that. So we thought in our head, like, who will be the most important hostage for Israeli to like try to rescue. We said like the son of the prime minister. Okay, that makes sense. So we talked with Isaac and said like in Uganda, what would make the most sense with a kidnapping situation? Be like a political kidnapping or be ransom? Said, no, these things don't happen in Uganda. It's very important for me to raise awareness about like the risk of sacrificing children for witchcraft in Uganda. That's already like
so that is a real issue that he was speaking of.
Yeah.
And it's very important.
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
His movie Crazy World that was being screened in the US a few years ago also deals with it, and more movies, and it's very important for him to raise the discourse about it. For a lot of reasons, people don't talk about it. It's not for our job to explain it, but he always says like I'm not the minister of education. I'm not here to educate people, but I'm here to inform people.
Sure.
So it was very important to him. And even when we screened it in Uganda, all those references of witchcraft and everything, like the audience loved it. Like
the audiences of Uganda and of Israel laugh at completely different parts.
Yeah,
that has to be an experience to be in a theater, with two different demographics of audience, and to hear how they react to different things. That must be an interesting experience.
Yeah. And I'm sure American audiences will also get different.
Yeah.
Sure. Stuff. Do you have any fun stories or anything that you'd like to share from production? Anything interesting happened while you were shooting this?
Okay, so there are a lot of very funny, uncomfortable, a little embarrassing points, mostly for us, that I can share. And you know how like we came with this, we take for granted, or not us, when you thought of an Israeli kidnapped son, anyone prior to this disaster at the moment would think, oh, it's because they are Israeli or because they're Jewish, right? We take that for granted as a very Israel-centric view, like anyone from their own country. And when Isaac and Harriet Ugandanized our script, like made it Ugandan, they're like, no, that doesn't happen, like just what Ori explained, and they completely shifted our head. So that was a shift that we had to do. A shift that they had to do would be they were really excited about having these two Israelis come and make a movie with them, partially because they love Kung Fu, right? And we, as Israelis, we are masters of Krav Maga, right? Or so they thought.
They are used to the images of Israeli soldiers or whatever.
Yeah, because that's what, that's what Israel is famous for. So
as far removed as possible for our life.
And it really is farthest than for these two. More round and less,
I understand.
They were sure we were going to
blow their mind with martial arts maneuvers.
Oh my God.
And then they had to lower their standards, and then lower it more, and then you're like, okay, we'll come and save you. You will run, and they somehow we somehow made a way to solve that. Why we don't fight mostly in the scenes, and it's them. There was once I actually managed to fight a little bit more than Ori. He's really good at other stuff, and I had to run in the market. And it's Wakaliwood is in WAKALIGA, the neighborhood, and everyone are just. It's not a studio. It's the neighborhood. And when you want to shoot a movie, scene in a market, you go to the market and you ask hey, we're going to film this here. Play along. And they're like, oh, okay. So we just did that, right? So there's a sequence where I run after one of the bad guys from the Tiger Mafia. I run after him. And then we filmed that. And the first time I go, they all just burst out laughing, holding their stomachs on the floor. And they tell me, it looks like your body is working so hard, but you're not moving.
Oh my God.
And then Isaac is shouting at the guy, run slower. And he's like, I can't run any slower. I'm walking. And it was very embarrassing. And of course, the more takes we took, it became more. Eventually, we shot that we found again close-up-y solutions to the feet on the ground, and we have that.
Yeah, so a lot of
Well, you get it done. That's funny. You make it work any way you can. That's fantastic. I want to know, is it possible if we'll see another co-production with Wakaliwood in the future, perhaps a sequel to Operation WAKALIGA?
So. Oh, we hope so. We're looking for any excuse to go back there. They become like a second family to us, and like we're looking to any excuse.
Sounds like you might move there, so that could make it easier.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we hope so.
They'll just fold you into they'll just fold you into the Wakaliwood thing, and you'll be Wakaliwood if you want to. Well, that's fantastic.
If you are even our last visit there when we came to distribute the movie, like they used the fact that we were there to cast us in 2 other Wakaliwood movies because like if you're a white person, not even an actor, you will get offered acting jobs, because they'll use any opportunity.
Sure.
Especially in cannibal movies. Like Isaac told us, it was very important to them to have cannibal references in the movie, because he said, like, if you want your movie to sell to a Ugandan audience, you need to have cannibals in the movies. Like that's the most popular genre.
That's what's going on right now. That's
we love cannibals. That's what people want to see. That's what sell tickets. So we acted in another cannibal movie when we were.
Are those out yet? Are those coming out soon?
No, we don't know. It's up to either. We know he's editing it. Like he's working on 3-4 movies simultanously all the time.
Yeah.
His mind is all constantly, busy with like.
He's the Johnny Toe of Uganda, just constantly with 3 movies a year. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for joining us. We love the movie. It's such a blast. I know that our crowd is going to get a lot out of it. They're going to have a good time with it. Our crowd is definitely like the Wakaliwood, Bad Black Who Killed Captain Alex type crowd. So they're going to love this thing, and I'm excited to see their reactions. And I think you'll be happy with their reactions as well.
Yeah, we're waiting. Thank you for having us at your festival.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us here at CFF this year, and I think that's it.
Yeah, thanks a lot.